You're listening to Inside Real Estate with Irv Tremblay on Newstalk 980.
Irv, thanks for holding over the break. Much appreciated.
Well, I wouldn't go anywhere.
I was going to say, the day that you actually just disappear on me.
Yeah. Well, there are some days I might, but when we're talking about for sale by owners, I'm not going to go anywhere.
You're not going anywhere.
Because I really like it, and you make the show exciting by asking me good questions and your comments, and
funny,
so it's good.
You keep talking about how you really like for sale by owners, and I think, if there's some poor for sale by owner person out there who's been sitting there for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and they're probably rolling their eyes going, oh, sure, he really likes him. But you've taken, you've taken the training that many others simply haven't. To specifically deal with for sale by owners, to try to understand the mindset, and it's really trying to show them the value in having a great agent working for you, and that's the key. And as part of that, say when you do phone up, do you kind of say, okay, here's the potential issues, here's the potential problems that you're going to see, and you've got a hard and fast line. You said there's 5 big issues that for sale by owners really have to deal with.
Well, it's really interesting when you talk about calling for sale by owners. Whether you're a for sale by owner or not, or you're a past client, my experience in listing and selling for sale by owners is a great asset to you. It just makes you a more complete agent. If you don't call expireds or have expireds call you, there was a day that we could call expireds all the time. Now they have to call me. If you don't call for sale by owners, figure out their problems, net them more money, have that experience, handle their objections, prove to them that you can make more money, that helps my regular clients, that experience. I've had agents talk to me and say, oh, for sale by owners, I'm proud to say I've never called one. Well, if you've never called one, you're not a very complete agent. And the other thing is, if you've never called one and you've got buyers, are you not telling your buyers about these for sale by owners? Because really, if you sign a buyer's contract the way it should be filled out, is that you're going to try and get them a perfect house, whether it be private, MLS. You should be doing that. And you should know how to approach a for sale by owner and put a sale together if it is the right house. So when I hear agents say, oh, I never call for sale by owners, it's like a little badge of honor, but really it isn't. It shows me you're not a complete agent. And that experience really helps me in my day-to-day business. The more experience you have in any business,
and the broader range.
And a broader range, the better you are. And so, and many for sale by owners, believe it or not, have some of the more difficult homes to sell. They'll be in the worst location, absolutely the worst location, I sold one a few years ago on the corner of McCarthy Boulevard and Sherwood Drive.
It's a nice, quiet little
and it was interesting because it was I can't remember if it was a school teacher who bought this as a project in the summertime to fix and flip. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to fix and flip, you don't buy a poor location, right? Mm-hmm. He thought the location was very good, and he told me that. And, I like to have fun in the business. Sometimes it gets me in a little bit of trouble. I said, a good location. I says, if Alex Marion at the time owned McDonald's, if he was looking for another location, it'd probably be this one because that's how busy this corner is. So a lot of for sale by owners try to sell the most difficult locations or a house, I remember selling a solar house one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they were trying to sell on their own. So it's interesting because that experience of selling for sale by owners, and many of them, the toughest sells, try to sell on their own, really helps you out in day-to-day basis. So for sale by owners are interesting.
So let's talk about those issues. Let's talk about the 5 big problems that a for sale by owner is going to have. What would you put at the top of the list?
Absolutely. It's exposure. Exposure is number 1. Number 2 is bargain hunters. Mm-hmm. Why would a buyer who can hire the best agent in the city, can hire the top 5 agents in the city, and as a buyer, they don't pay any fees. Mm-hmm. I just have an out-of-town buyer. We pick them up, we take them for lunch, we take them for dinner, We arrange building inspections, we negotiate, we interpret all kinds of things, we set them up with a top lawyer, all of those things, and you don't pay anything. Why would an out-of-town buyer be searching for sale by owner? There's only one reason, is they're not qualified and some of those top agents won't take them out, or they're bargain hunters and they've watched all those TV programs, and those TV programs tell you go to the for sale by owner because they don't know what they're doing, right? So bargain hunters. So number one problem is exposure. Number two is you get flooded with bargain hunters. Number three is you don't get to the qualified buyers. Number four is negotiations. And, you know, I get sales guys, and I was in sales all my life. And, you know, sales guys, you know, I talk to them. I'm selling on my own because I remember this one guy, I sell big tractors. Well, that's great. You sell big tractors. I'm a top salesman, and I've got all these awards for selling these big tractors. Well, that's great. If I drove out to the tractor shop and said, you know, I've sold a few houses, and I'm going to come in here on Saturday and sell tractors, he'd kind of laugh me out of the building. But he's going to sell his largest investment because he sells tractors. It doesn't make any sense. And sure, he might be a good negotiator. He doesn't know the ins and outs and all the problems with a house and doesn't know how to negotiate that. So negotiation is a huge problem. One of the most overlooked problems that nobody addresses and talks to is liability.
And that can be huge. And people just don't realize it.
So you're a for sale by owner, and you go and you sign up with a private site, and they come out and they help you do the general comments. When I read those general comments, they're a minefield of liability. But then they sign a waiver at the bottom. They're not responsible for inaccuracies. They're not responsible. You know, I saw one, we talked about it in the fall, where the home was advertised 200 square feet larger than it really was. Yeah. Big problem, because the person then went to sell it and the first person sued them. So liability is a huge problem. So those are the big problems, and we're going to explore each one of those problems in upcoming shows, because when you talk about exposure, these days people say, well, Irv, what do you mean exposure? I'm on the web. Well, yeah, you got great exposure, but do you have great exposure to the best buyers?
To the right people, bottom line.
Sure.
Very, very quickly, just as we wrap up, biggest myth for sale by owners.
This is the biggest myth, is that you can go for sale by owner and advertise a commission to an agent, and those agents will show and sell your house. Sometimes they'll show, sometimes they sell, but not often, because they don't want to deal with for sale by owners. It's much easier. There's less liability. There's less work. There's less liability for their clients dealing in the MLS system with the protection of the company and the system.
Irv, great to expose that myth. We'll have other ones as we continue along.
We will.
Listen, a lot of information on Irv's website, a great resource for you, www.irvsells.ca. That's irvsells.ca, all one word, Irv Sells. Or you can call Irv, 790-3753, 790-3753. This is Inside Real Estate. You're listening to Dave Arnold with Irv Tremblay from Century 21. He'll help you turn the key, taking care of your business. Talk to you next time.
On Newstalk 980.